Hello again, welcome to the Mastercam courses. In that lecture, we're gonna talk about X, Y, and Z axis. As you know that we are creating our product and by using the 3-axis system, this is X, Y, and Z axis. When you use the right mouse button, okay, if you prefer to select an isometric VCS, isometric perspective, we're gonna see our axis. We're gonna see the 3-axis. If you can click here and turn to the top view, and we're gonna see only X and Y axis. If you click the isometric perspective again, and then we can turn to front view. This is the X and Z axis. You can also see here. If you prefer to use isometric perspective again, and then turn to the right view. This is actually Y and Z axis. You need to prefer to isometric perspective here. So you can also see 3-axis and 3 design and perspective and 2D design perspective here. This is also quite important. If you click the 3D options, it means that you can create and line by using the X, Y, and Z axis coordinate. If you prefer to use the 2D, it means that you're gonna turn to only on the one plane and projection and design process. This is also quite important. Okay, that's all about our view perspective. We can see the top view, front view, right view, and isometric view. If you would like to turn to C-plane options, this is actually working area. If I am turning to top view as a C-plane, if we can turn to front view and right view, or we can also see the front view here. That's all possible while we are creating our wireframe. Okay. For example, let me try to create some wireframe here. This is my wireframe options. We are working on the top plane here, and we are working with the 2D options. This is the 2D options. So we can easily create circle. I can click anywhere here and create my circle like this. Okay, this is my circle. Okay, let me change my color. I can turn here and I can change my wireframe color. This is my wireframe color, like this one. And then we are working 2D and C plane as a top, and then we can change our Z position. I can turn to the 50 to be able to create another circle here like this. But when we use my mouse, and we're gonna see that we created and some circle with Z position 50 millimeter. So that part is quite important. At that point, actually, I'm gonna also mention about that. This is quite important. I also would like to emphasize that if I am turning to 3D and C plane is not important at that point actually, because we are working on the 3D perspective. So I can change my Z position. It's not important. So I can turn to the line options and I can start from the center of that circle, and then we can reach and the center of that circle. So in the Mastercam, we can easily create that kind of line by using the 3D options. This is 3D options. So if you turn isometric perspective view again, and then I can change my C plane. My C plane can turn to the front, and we can also turn to the 2D. And then if you click the circle center point, if you create some circle, we're gonna see some circle on the plane X and Z axis. Okay, because we are working on the C plane as a front. If I am click here and turn back to the right view, and then we are also working with the 2D and Z position 0. If click here to be able to create my circle, and then we're gonna see that's kind of circle here. Okay, this is the C plane 2D and 3D perspective. Okay, don't forget to use that stuff while creating your geometry, by creating your product, or turn back to the toolpath operations. That part is quite important. And thank you very much for listening to me.